Good evening, everyone, and welcome live to Rock Chalk Park in West Lawrence, where tonight Kaw Valley FC back in action hosting the St. Louis Lions. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I am Kevin Romery, joined tonight by Andy Edwards. And Andy, last week, really the first rough weekend of the year for this Crane squad.
It was just 1 out of 6 points in 2 games against the Green Bay Voyagers, a very, very good expansion team into this league. So there's nothing to be disheartened about that. But it makes tonight's game, the 4th one of the season against St. Louis, really, really important. If you begin to look at the standings and kind of keep one eye on that and one eye on what's happening on the field, a chance to go 10 points clear of 3rd place and give themselves a real opportunity at locking in one of those 2 playoff spots in the Heartland Conference. Kaw Valley can accept nothing but 3 points tonight.
If you watched us at all the last couple of weeks, you've really become familiar with the names Ponte and Ignacio, but those 2 guys, at least not in the starting lineup tonight. Ponte won't go at all. We might see Larich in the second half.
It's going to be very interesting to see from the beginning how they're going to create the chances, where the goals are going to come from. I imagine with Mason Visconti coming into the starting lineup, probably play a little bit more on the counterattack than they have in the first handful of games this season. Try to wear down that St. Louis back line just a little bit, and then you bring in the creator, the smooth operator, Ignacio Larich in the second half. Against tired legs, you have to think he'll have a little bit more time, a little bit more space to work in, and that could make him just a little bit more lethal in a game. Without Ponte, they're going to need to rely on him just a little bit more individually, so it could be the perfect formula for him.
As Andy mentioned, it's Kaw Valley FC against St. Louis for the 4th time this season. Let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll get this started. It's the Cranes and the Lions next right here on Midcoast Sports Network. Matchup number 4 about to begin between Kaw Valley FC and St. Louis. These two teams met in the season opener. That one a scoreless draw over on the other side of the state of Missouri. Meanwhile, back here at home, Kaw Valley with a 2-1 win and a 2-0 victory. So far in 3 matches, Andy, this Kaw Valley team has dominated, but they've all been really, really good games.
Yeah, these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I think you give Kaw Valley a little bit of the edge in the technical side of things, but it's a very physical St. Louis team, and we've seen a couple of those games kind of teeter and toe that line of getting a little bit out of control, getting a little bit overly chippy. Familiarity breeds contempt, and we've seen a lot of games between these 2 teams and these individuals, and they won't have forgotten some of those kind of one-on-one matchups, those testy moments that they've seen in those earlier games. So we'll see. Hopefully that keeps it out of tonight, because as we talked about in the intro, it's a really important game for Kaw Valley's season, and to see it kind of devolve into the antics that aren't necessary would be really unfortunate, and I think could really cost them a couple of points tonight, if not more, and that could just about cost them their season.
Kaw Valley in the home grays tonight. Meanwhile, St. Louis, the visitors in the, well, as you called them, it's the exact copy of
Celtic.
And their head coach, who is Tony Glavin's history is?
He is from Glasgow.
It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
So weeks later, I understand it all now.
Now it makes sense after we've seen this team a couple times. Let's take a look at the starting lineups quickly for the Cranes. In goal tonight, Nico Nito back there. The defenders, Patrick Wilkinson with Lucas Bartlett, Jordan Salton, Chase Bromstead. In the midfield, Kevin Commodi, Christopher Bagni, and Roman Knox. And your forwards tonight, Manuel Busquets. He's been really good, along with Chase Wright and Mason Visconti. Those are the 2 new names in the starting lineup. Meanwhile, for St. Louis tonight, Britt Weisner is in goal. Defenders David Marshall, Chad Hamler, who started at forward last time we saw the lines, Floris Blom and Joshua Graham, Greg McCrudden, Cooper Reese, and Stefan Angelic in the midfield, and your forwards Brandon Burton, Charles Cheklox, and Luan Barboso Santana, who scored a goal the last time we saw this St. Louis team.
Scored a goal and nearly scored another one that would have put Kaw Valley down 2-1 at the time before they got that late winner in that game here at Rock Chalk Park. So he is obviously the man to keep an eye on. They gave him a little too much space on both of those opportunities in that second meeting between these two teams. So that's going to be one thing that to really keep an eye on. Christopher Bonnier at defensive midfield, and then Jordan Salt and Lucas Bartlett there at center back. Who's going to be responsible for knowing where he is at all times, especially when the ball is coming into his feet?
So as it stands right now, Kaw Valley FC in second place in the Heartland Division, but a lot of teams have games in hand that have not yet been played. The game totals are not equal across the board. The Des Moines Menace, likely one of the heavy favorites in this division. Going to see that team coming up here live on Midcoast Sports Network on Saturday. But a week ago, the feeling coming at the end of the weekend, a little bit different than the feeling we have coming into this weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And to have the first hiccup of the season and see how this team responds is going to be very interesting tonight. And against a team that they're familiar with and have had success against, it might just be the perfect storm for Kaw Valley. It could also be a difficult situation because St. Louis will come in here looking for a little bit of revenge for some of those earlier season games. But the fact that they can go double-digit points clear in the playoff race to get ahead of Green Bay by that many points in the bag, always better than games in hand. So you would have to like Kaw Valley's chances, assuming that they can get maybe something from the game Saturday against Des Moines and then go on the road for the last few games of the regular season, take care of business there. I think it would be a team that would be deserving of a playoff place, which would be a huge accomplishment for a team that's just in its second season of existence.
Couple of minutes in, no real shots yet on either of these goalies. No real pressure yet either way, but I'm sure that'll change shortly. We've had a couple of great contests between these two teams, and if you think you're out of it, don't think that. And if you're giving up a minute or two left, don't do that either, because we've had a couple of late goals between these two squads.
The momentum swings and the two games between them that we've had here at Rock Chalk Park has been just unbelievable. It's been constant and back and forth between these two teams. So, like you said, up until the very last minute, there will be something to play for in this game. I would be very, very surprised, especially given kind of the rotation in the lineup for Kaw Valley, if this ever got to a point where it's a 2-goal game, anything more than a 1-goal advantage for either side.
Urbani trying to squeak one through and get it in front of St. Louis's net. That one kicked away, and the Cranes will retain possession. Another beautiful night here at Rock Chalk Park. The old Bark at the Park night. See a couple of pups out here. Don't be alarmed, they're allowed in tonight. If you're heading out to join us here a little bit later, this is a 7 o'clock start. The starts earlier this season on Fridays have been on 7:30. Nice ball through here. That's Chase Bromstead making a run to it in the corner, trying to put on a move. Visconti in the corner with him, and that one kicked out of play, but that'll be a throw in for Chase Bromstead. Quick starts. We did not have that last week for this Cranes team. Urbani chips it in. Back to him, they'll reset. Now Roman Knox, one of the new guys that we have not seen in the starting lineup so far this season, and a whistle and a crane down on the field. Looks like Roman Knox. The official going to check on him and goes over and talks to Brandon Burton. Obviously didn't love the play from Burton.
So it begins early tonight.
It seems like these two teams, it's been so chippy at times. Burton from St. Louis Community College, but another one of those kids from across the pond, and you kind of noticed that early. A lot of these kids are from across the pond.
Yes, soccer is all about who you know, not what you know, and those connections, the networks that exist to bring players all over the world at various different levels is something that we see time and time again. We see it with the Hungarian connection for Kaw Valley and Coach Urbani, the handful of guys.
The UMKC connection as well.
There you go.
The Kangaroo connection.
It's happening with Sporting Kansas City. They're all over the place, and so you've got a lot of Brits, a lot of kids from Scotland on this St. Louis team. So maybe it would explain a little bit of the chippiness, the feistiness that goes on between these two teams. A couple countries and soccer nations play with a chip on their shoulder, some of the smaller nations there in Europe, and always thought of as less than, and so they respond accordingly on the field.
Battle for the ball in the middle of the field, and Urbani's finally able to clear it away, and a chance here. Manuel Busquets, nice job of boxing out, see if he can get control. He cannot. Charles Chekloks takes it away, and back come the Lions. No score in the 6th minute here at Rock Chalk Park. Important points on the line tonight for both teams. I mentioned last week a chance for Kaw Valley FC to really put some distance between itself and some of the opponents still yet to come in the bottom half of that Heartland division, but only got 1 point last week. Obviously, Christophe Urbani would love to have had a penalty kickback on one that at the very least would have tied a game late in the second half. That one didn't go. The momentum shift at that time certainly made you feel really good if that one goes in, that maybe this Cranes team pulls out 3 points instead of just one, but instead falls by a goal and then is able to pick up a late point the next day.
Yeah, we were both very much of the opinion if that penalty from Urbani goes in there about 75th minute in that game, all of the momentum, absolutely every bit of it existing in this building was with Kaw Valley. They probably would have gone on and gotten a 3rd goal because Green Bay was taking everybody off the field. They were ready to pack it in and try to get out of here at 2-0 and 2-1. The momentum swing of that was obviously huge in the course of that game, but then to turn around and put in another good performance against that same team on the weekend and get a point out of it, even in disappointing fashion, still a nice achievement for this Kaw Valley team, considering the rotation that had to happen to the lineup for that game as well. So even in the moments where there is disappointment and frustration for this team this year, there have been positives to take, and that's not just spinning it for the sake of positivity, but if you really look at kind of the course of the season and the length that it is and the points that you need, they've pretty typically been able to come out with something from just about every single game this season, and you just stash points away as much as you possibly can, 1 here, 3 there, and you'll find yourself come the end of the season, at least in the conversation, and that's not somewhere that they were come the end of 2018. So on the whole, you compare 2019 to 2018 already, it's been a massive improvement.
Chase right and Chase there, could not catch up with it. Means Weiser now will try to send it back the other way for St. Louis Lions. Clears everybody out, then goes short, and he'll get it right back. But El Busquets, man, this guy puts a lot of mileage on his legs every game, and he's going to force the St. Louis Lions into a decision, and it pays off.
Yeah, I think he's really going to have to kind of take the onus upon himself tonight, because what we've seen the first couple times that the ball has either come to him or come near him, he's had 2 guys all over him. He's got the left back over there and Hamler, who's kind of man-marking him just straight up, which is something that you don't see a lot, and then they'll shade a midfielder over to that way, very clearly kind of the danger man on the field in the starting lineup. And St. Louis, again, having played Kaw Valley as many times as they have this season, will have known that, and they will have seen the effectiveness of Manuel Busquets, and so they'll be trying to kind of limit his impact on this game, at least until whatever point in the game when Ignacio Lerich comes into it. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Busquets early on, and also to want to play on the counter a little bit the way that they pretty clearly are set up to do. It's kind of difficult to do when a team like is sitting in a little bit deeper, a little bit more defensive, like St. Louis. The opportunities to counter, there's not really that space. There's not really those chances. So we're seeing slow start to this game. It's kind of a back and forth ping pong chess match early on, and which team is going to be the first to break away.
And maybe a breakaway here. Visconti with time, the left foot, it's a goal. Kaw Valley FC strikes first, just as Andy mentions the slow start. And maybe just a mistake here from St. Louis. That ball back into play quickly. Credit Kaw Valley FC. They didn't wait for anybody to get set up. That ball back in play, and Visconti on the run puts one on the board.
What are you looking at me for to say? So clearly I know nothing about what's going on in this game, but no.
The first shot of the game, really, and obviously the first shot on goal.
As you say, the quick restart right there caught St. Louis napping just a little bit, and so you've got to put a little fault on that, but you've got to put a lot of credit to Kaw Valley in a situation like that. The awareness, the headiness to get that ball back into play, and to play it aggressively, not just cycle possession around, but get it into the penalty area, and you get Visconti there in behind. And what's the one thing that we have seen from him thus far this season, it's the speed. It's the ability to run in behind and get one-on-one with the goalkeeper, kind of hanging on the back shoulder of that last defender. He made the run, and the pass was seen and picked out and played perfectly. That's just great execution right there from Kaw Valley.
Second goal of the season from Mason Visconti, and just like that, the start that we were hoping for last week for the Cranes delivered this week. So long last week where Kaw Valley FC playing catch-up, it felt like the entire time. And that obviously not going to be the case here.
Well, Coach Urbani's got to feel great right now. Anytime
Absolutely.
you push a button and you make a change to the starting lineup and you get a direct impact from the player that you introduce to the lineup, the change that you make, whether it's a goal, whether it's assist, or just a really positive performance, you have to feel really good. You have to feel justified and vindicated for making that move. And Visconti giving his coach not only something to feel good about right now, but going forward, something to consider as well. Visconti has been pretty dangerous in the kind of limited minutes that he's been on the field, and he's putting together a little bit of a body of work that makes a case for maybe I should be in the starting lineup a little bit more regularly. Clearly, he's been productive.
A handball here called, I think that was on Commodi. Just inadvertent, obviously. Now the official not real happy with the actions, I believe, of David Marshall and Mason Visconti. Nothing that I saw. It may have happened away from the ball, but whatever it was, the lead official trying to nip that one in the bud.
I'll tell you what it was. There's just a couple guys jawing at each other for absolutely nothing. Marshall faked like he was throwing the ball into the face of Visconti. The referee saw it, and then he tried to take the restart. Just having problem with authority over here on the near side.
Happens to be the guy that scored just a moment ago as well. As we mentioned, these have been chippy good games. It's matchup number 4 between the two, which would ordinarily signal that these two teams really know each other really well. But maybe that's not exactly the case, Andy, because of the way this league works, where you have so many on the roster. You really do mix the lineups quite a bit. I mean, we've done, 4 of these games now. We have seen a very different lineup on 2 or 3 occasions, and we have a pretty different one tonight.
Yeah, no, we certainly do, and that's kind of the nature of the beast of USL League 2. You're going to have either a really, really large roster, and you're going to want to get a bunch of guys playing time. You're going to have players coming into the team and players going out of the team, or you're going to have a really small roster with not a lot to work with. In Kaw Valley, it's been a bit of a blessing and a challenge.
The first real chance for the Lions, and that one almost sneaks over the head of Nico Nito. A very dangerous ball from a very interesting position. I wouldn't have necessarily called that a scoring position, but a great shot here. That was from Brandon Burton, and that was on the netting above the goal. So maybe a bit fortunate there, Kaw Valley FC, to get away with one. Hanging on to that 1-0 lead, minute 14, first half. Great start as Mason Visconti into the starting lineup for Ignacio Lerich. Scores in the 10th minute.
Well, and this sets up perfectly for Kaw Valley, because just before the goal, the point that I was making, St. Louis is going to be a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more conservative in their approach. But now being down a goal, they have to open up and take a few more chances, and then that will really open up space on the counterattack for Kaw Valley. So getting that early goal, which is one of the most difficult things to do in the game, really sets up nicely for the ensuing kind of 80 minutes, 77 minutes that we've got left here tonight.
Almost a beautiful ball from Czechlots. It's just tipped out of there. Nico Nito trying to keep it into play, can't do it, so a corner kick coming up for St. Louis. And right now, it's kind of a relaxed Ishvan Urbani on the sideline. More relaxed than we've seen him at times. A lot to be happy, though, about here early at Rock Chalk Park. This is Czechlots. Beautiful ball into the center, and luckily for Kaw Valley FC, Patrick Wilkinson able to get ahead on it and clear it out. Another ball into Nito, and he's able to clear it. No damage done on that trip from the St. Louis Lions. So Tony Glavin's team needing to make up some ground in the standings, and off to a slow start here on the road tonight. And here comes a run from Kaw Valley, and that's Manel Busquets. Very poppy. He's gone with the neon pink tape on the shoes, I think, every week. A little bit bigger guy, and he's the familiar name, at least from our standpoint, in the starting lineup tonight, with both obviously Ponte and Ignacio sitting out right now. And a chance that with Ponte that he could be in the lineup maybe on Saturday. That shoulder injury from a couple of weeks ago where he got banged up a little bit, tried to come back in the first game that we did, and it was pretty obvious 25, 30 minutes in that Andy, he was just not himself.
Yeah, he had to come off and just wasn't effective, wasn't involved in anything really, and it didn't take a lot, I think, to kind of remind him of that injury. Every time he got a little bit of a bump on that side of the body, you feel it, and it just continues to ache, and it continues to give you problems. And once you're thinking about that, mentally you're not fully checked in. You're not fully focused on what's happening on the field, what you need to be doing. And at that point, probably the right move for Coach Urbani to get him out there. You know, we talked to him a little bit before the game about that, and he wasn't sure whether he should have had him in the lineup for that game or not. He gave him an opportunity and trusted what the player told him and put him out there. But it became pretty clear that just wasn't going to happen for him on that night. And so obviously the best thing to do, get him off the field, try to get him back to 100% as quickly as possible, because he's been the best player for this Kaw Valley team, and they need him back for these final few games of the regular season if they are to make a run into the playoffs.
Chad Hamler with it for a moment in the corner. As we mentioned, he's the leading scorer on this team with 3 goals. Officially, though, he is a defender in this game, but where you saw him touch it right there, don't take your eyes off of number 25. He's got 3 goals on the season. Kaw Valley FC, meanwhile, last week in the game that we did a couple of weeks ago, did a very good job on him.
Yeah, no,
we talked him up, I feel
yeah.
like, Andy, coming into the game.
Yep.
I don't feel like we mentioned his name a lot during the game.
No, Chase Bromstead pretty much put the lockdown defense on him here on the right side of attack. Now he's moved over to left back in this game tonight. He's going to be really aggressive, and he'll play more as kind of a wing back or a midfielder than he will an actual left back over there on that left side. And to the point that you just made, where he received that ball was in a dangerous area. Essentially, St. Louis playing kind of with 3 at the back already very early in this game, kind of realizing the situation being down a goal and knowing without 3 points tonight, for all intents and purposes, their season in terms of the playoffs just about over. So they might sell out a little bit more than they usually would to try to get the victory here tonight.
Well, Visconti had a chance with it there just across midfield, but could not get around David Marshall. So that matchup continues to go really right at each other. And it's back again with St. Louis. It's a 1-0 lead, though, for the Kaw Valley FC Cranes. I believe that is our only shot on goal tonight for either team, and it happens to be one that found its way all the way to the back of the net for a 1-zip advantage. A quick strike on a restart. The Cranes may have caught the line to sleep for just a second, but good news is Mason Visconti was not sleeping on the play. Picked up his 2nd goal of the season. Dangerous situation, though, here. Chip in, a lot of bodies in the way, and that one headed out of play, and a long delay, and finally it's going to be a corner for the St. Louis Lions.
USL League 2 is proud to announce partner Capelli.
Well, since the goal,
Follow Capelli Sport on Twitter.
the Lions have
Capelli Sport information.
had possession time locked up. We have not seen too many more chances for Kaw Valley FC. 4-1-2, the four wins, a loss, a couple of ties. Meanwhile, St. Louis 2-4-1 on the season with 2 wins, 4 losses in the tie. Just 7 points for the Lions and some ground that needs to be made up. The Kaw Valley now with 14 points on the year and clearly in 2nd place now. But man, the menace, Des Moines has just kind of been the big bully on the block in this division for quite some time. Their payroll obviously is a little bit different. The team is stacked, so to speak, but with just 5 matches played already and a perfect 5-0 slate. And you see all the green dots at the end there. It's been a pretty good season for those guys, and that's what's coming here on Saturday.
A perfect results record, perfect defensive record as well. 5 games played, 0 goals conceded, 12-4. So that is, I mean, that's a mark of dominance right there, and that's the challenge awaiting Kaw Valley this weekend. You don't want to be caught looking ahead to what's down the road 48 hours from now. You want to focus and get your 3 points tonight, because if you don't do so, then that game on Saturday doesn't mean quite or nearly as much as it would if you get the victory tonight. So it really is, and I know it's the oldest cliche in sports, but taking it 1 game at a time, taking care of business here, and you give yourself an opportunity to play in a really, really big game against pretty inarguably the best of the conference and one of the best teams in the league, and that's what you play for. So take care of business tonight, and Saturday will be fun.
Well, and you look at the standings now, and you kind of ask yourself, can you catch Des Moines? And there's a long way to go, but I don't think that's the goal right now. What you want to do is put yourself in position to, number one, Andy, obviously make the postseason, but number two, you just mentioned, set this matchup up for Saturday and really have a gauge of where this team is.
Well, it also give you an idea if you are going to be one of those top two finishing teams. It'll have a playoff atmosphere. That game and the feel, the competitiveness, the energy of that game will be more so than just your run-of-the-mill regular season game. And so you will have kind of introduced yourself, and Coach Urbani will have seen his team individually and collectively, how they respond to that situation and how they operate in those moments. And so it won't be completely foreign to them should they get into the playoffs. So it's just one of those little building blocks that you continue to add, check marks going down the list, little things that you want to see from your team as a coach that gives you an idea of who you can rely on and kind of situationally who steps up and embraces those big moments.
Almost halfway through this first half, minute 22. Still a 1-0 contest thanks to the goal from Mason Visconti at the 10th minute. Since then, however, the Lions have had really some better chances. Nothing real dangerous yet on goal for Nico Nito to really stop yet, but you would have hoped for maybe a few more chances, or at least a couple from the Cranes, and I don't know that we've seen that yet. And the Lions team certainly hungry after not being able to pick up a W against these Cranes in the first three matchups. Visconti, if he could control it here, had some numbers, had a 3-on-2 the other way, but ball had a little English on it, so to speak. When it hit the turf, bounced in a weird direction, and tough ball for Mason Visconti to handle. But that's a little reminiscent, kind of feel like how the first goal was scored. On a quick play there, next thing you know, you had the numbers going the opposite direction. And a quick strike response. Only 2 home games left here for Kaw Valley FC at Rock Chalk Park. This one, and then coming up on Saturday night. Quick season. We joke, feel like about the time we really get to know this team, it's gone. But 14 games in all, and got to realize you're working mostly with college kids, so they can't get here till late. Got to be a very condensed kind of summer season. You got to get to the playoffs at a decent time, and then these kids will head back to school pretty quick.
Yeah, I remain a pretty firm advocate of what this USL League Two, kind of the structure and the idea behind it is. Having these college kids who the college season is just, it's too short. If you're talking about player development and trying to continue the development of players in this age bracket, kind of 18 to 22 years old, you really need to be training and playing games in a competitive environment for 8, 9, 10, 11 months out of the year, not just the 3 or 4 that you get during the college season, and you're limited in training sessions and everything. So it's just a great opportunity to continue kind of those steps up toward the professional game, and eventually we'll see 1 or 2 start to slowly trickle into USL Championship, maybe Swope Park Rangers, a level like that, and you just give a kid an opportunity because the league exists, and that's a great thing. You talk about, at the highest level, developing players. Just let's talk a little bit lower level and kind of filling out the rosters for MLS teams, and that progression is just going to continue downward, and that's going to take more kids upward.
Well, Kaw Valley FC retreating after finally getting it into the St. Louis Lions territory. Mano Busquets, a nice job to track it down in the corner. But no resulting attack from that play, and now the Cranes will start over. Very deliberate bunch tonight. Again, Busquets using his size, kind of boxes out there, grabs the rebound. Now he's off to the races. Trying to find Visconti in the middle, and that one is knocked out of there by Floris Blom. And now Charles Checklocks on the attack, sends it ahead to, it's like Barbosa Santana, but Kaw Valley FC is there. One shot on goal, 1 goal tonight for Kaw Valley FC. The percentage is good. just like to see a few more shots on goal.
It's definitely a different kind of approach from this team tonight. They've been so possession heavy and so chance creation heavy in most of their games this season that it is maybe a little bit disconcerting at first to see them playing in such a different way, but at the same time I think it's a bit of a positive to show that they can shift through the gears, the different systems, the different kind of game states and the situations that they'll find themselves in over the course of a season, and to come out here with a bit of a changed lineup, similar system but looking to accomplish a few different things and get a little bit more on the counterattack. And you see him trying to get it there to Mason Visconti and Busquets the last couple times down the field. It's just good to see a secondary way to play, a plan B if you will, that if you're without your star player or two star players, you can still get out there and put something together and be dangerous and be effective.
Beautiful ball by Jordan Salt to get this possession set up, but then an offside call. Just half step there, Mason Visconti, his arms in the air. Official on the far sideline raising the flag. '27th minute, Cranes still hanging on to that 1-0 lead. And I think this match so far, it's kind of what we expected. I mean, we've seen this similar game, I think, 3 times before.
Yeah, when you play a team this much, everything that you want to do and everything that you've had success in the first game or 2 or 3 games against one another kind of cancels itself out and gets found out, and so you'll see adjustments from the other team. And I think St. Louis has done a pretty good job of being a little bit more aggressive and putting a little bit more pressure onto Kaw Valley, and that's one of the things that possession-heavy teams tend to struggle with just a little bit, is when you don't allow them time and space, you have to make them think and react a little bit quicker. And so we've seen a couple of wayward passes or unnecessary turnovers from Kaw Valley in this game that have led to half chances for St. Louis at this point. But from Kaw Valley, I think that they've learned that if they do open themselves up and they play a little bit too aggressive against the St. Louis team, that they do have the players to make them pay. And they learned that certainly the last time that these two teams played here at Rock Chalk Park. So it's small adjustments from game to game, but when you become so familiar, you have really clear memories of the last time you played, what worked and what didn't. And to both of these teams' credit, they've changed from that.
Last touched by, I believe, Busquets. Going to go back over to St. Louis. Not sure if the Lions took part in the big celebration last night. The Gateway City, obviously a hockey title in town for the first time in the 50 years of the franchise. Don't know if that carries over to this team or not, but it's an exciting time to live the eastern side of the Show Me State. Here's Visconti. He's got the goal in this one, trying to put a move on and around Floris Blom. Can't do it. Lions had it momentarily, but a nice shot by Bromstedt to keep it into play. And now maybe an opportunity for the Cranes. Turning a shot, that one from right on target, and it's knocked out of there. Great play by Britt Weisner.
All the credit on that one goes to Chase Bromstedt, and you called him out for winning that ball back, but it wasn't just winning the ball back. He made the initial defensive play, read it, diagnosed it, got into the passing lane, got a foot in there, but then went and got the second ball, that 50-50 that was just kind of sitting there. Didn't just collect it, didn't just send it backward, but sent it forward into a dangerous, aggressive area of the field, and he alone created that chance. It's a really, really good job of Wright by getting on it and quickly turning and finding goal.
Corner kick from the Cranes, cleared out momentarily. Salt trying to keep it in, and the Lions come away with it. A couple of nice chances there, really the best chance we've seen since the goal from Visconti, but saw the left leg there of Chase Wright and a bullet that was on target. And really a great play and save by Weisner. This could easily be a 2-0 contest with 2 real shots on goal. Nice tap there. Commodi gets a foot on it. Visconti now running the opposite direction back to Commodi. He's got some space and time. The left foot trying to get it in play. Deflected out. Kaw Valley, though, hangs on to it. Here's Urbani. Commodi from a long distance. And if that was a shot, it was a little off target. And I think that's what that was supposed to be.
The end product, not quite there, but that entire sequence from Kaw Valley, really, really good stuff. And it started with Commodity, obviously, getting a little bit of touch on the ball out of the back from the goalkeeper, but then making that overlapping run. And we've talked a lot this season about kind of how versatile so many of the players on this Kaw Valley team are. And Commodity was a perfect example of that right there, with Visconti cutting in through the middle and progressing the ball, carrying it straight through the center. Commodity popped out wide to the left and presented that wide option, kept the right back on that side honest, kept him spread out just a little bit more, which presented a little bit more time and space in the middle for everybody, and then gets the ball back. If he was just able to clear that first defender with that cross into the box, he had somebody at the near post, he had somebody at the back post. You would have had to have really liked Kaw Valley's chances to get a goal if he could have got that ball into the box.
Bad turnover there from Salt. He's able, though, to get back, gets ahead on it. That one's cleared away, but looked dangerous for a moment. And a little tie up there at midfield. No whistle as Josh Graham literally put a headlock on a Crane offensive player at midfield. Was it Chase Wright? Yeah, it was Graham and Wright getting wrapped up. And headlock? Is that fair?
The only
Pretty
person,
fair?
yeah, the only person in the stadium more befuddled than I am by that non-call from the referee would be Chase Wright himself.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the headlock from behind, but on his back as well as the ball is coming to him. Clear obstruction. Got a lot of cases. You could make a case for that being a yellow card as well, for just the intent and intentionally slowing down an attacker that had beaten him into a space and was about to have an opportunity.
32nd minute here, first half. Cranes on top. It's 1-0. Lions, though, on the attack. Back into the corner. That's Marshall. His cross high and wide, out of play.
Lucas! Jordan, stop playing playmaker, please.
Season opener between these two, a scoreless draw. And then back here a couple of weeks ago, 2-1 win for Kaw Valley FC here and a 2-0 win over in Topeka. So 7 points for the Cranes in this matchup so far this year. It's been really half of their points so far have come against the Lions, and hoping to add 3 more tonight. Long way to go, but a good start for Ishvan Urbanyu's team.
Well, half their games have come against St. Louis as well, so that's how it works.
And it's an unbalanced schedule. Not everybody plays the same number. Geography obviously plays a part. And, you know, Winnipeg has some long drives ahead of a Green Bay now, one of the expansion franchise that came here. That's quite a ways away. Des Moines, obviously a little bit closer. St. Louis, so easier matchups for Kaw Valley FC. But you can go some distances. We didn't mention Thunder Bay. I mean, obviously not as far as Winnipeg, but a couple of trips to Canada, and you don't want to do that bus ride too many times if you don't have to.
No, I don't think so. But I kind of think, you know, if you look at the standings and having seen almost every team in the conference thus far, St. Louis truly feels like kind of the middle ground, replacement level, you know, average team in this conference, if you will. And so I think is a little bit beneficial for Kaw Valley to have a team that they can pretty regularly come out with victories against, as they've proven this year, but also a team that challenges them on a game-to-game basis, so you don't get a false sense of a team being better than they really are if you play a team, you know, maybe like Winnipeg or Thunder Bay, who haven't had the same kind of results and don't quite put up the same fight. So I think in terms of the development and the competition that Kaw Valley gets against a St. Louis team, it's kind of the perfect scenario to be in if you have to play a team this many times in a season.
Ball chipped in, battle for it. Nito is there and makes the save. And a long boot. Visconti's down there. See if he can get a decent bounce. Instead, headed out of play by Flores Blanc, but the good news is it's a deep kick and possession coming up for the Cranes.
It's a really nice ball there. I really, really like that when a goalkeeper's got the ability to distribute out of the back and not just short to the center backs with the easy pass, but to pick one out downfield that just changes the point of attack, the entire direction of the game, and forces defenders into one-on-one situations, which with a ball over the top, you never know how it's going to come off, and bounce is the last place you want to be.
And a ball through all the way to Nito, and he'll go back, see if we can get another one of those big boots from him. Instead, he'll toss this one out wide to Chase Bromstead. You know, if the soccer thing doesn't work out, bomb a couple of those. Next thing you know, you show up on some punter lists, I think, real quick. And a play-through ball here. And the flag comes up. It's going to be offside, but boy, Chase Wright got a quick touch on it, tapped it over. Looked like Visconti might have a run, but just a tad offsides right here.
I think he might have been on. I think there was a defender on the far side that was holding him just onside, and a very close call, a difficult one there. But the quick interplay between Kaw Valley, I think, might have thrown him off just a little bit, not quite read and reacted, and been perfectly in line with that last defender there, because Visconti, he looked onside from here, and we got a pretty good view, and maybe not quite as perfect down the line as the assistant referee there on the far side, but he looked on.
Well, about 9.5 minutes left in this first half. Can't imagine a ton of stoppage time being added at this point. Pretty fluid game so far. We kind of mentioned this thing got a little chippy a couple of weeks ago and saw some early signs of that, but for the most part, we have not had too many whistles. Only had one or two instances where the guys in red had to step in and have a chat. Well, Andy, talk about maybe the thought process for both of these squads right now. I got to believe if you're Kaw Valley, if you could sneak another one in, that would be fantastic in the next 9. And I assume if you're St. Louis, anything to get this thing even, right?
Well, if you're Kaw Valley, you're not going to do it like that, giving the ball away in that part of the field and then not getting back quite quickly enough with numbers defensively to see that chance out. A little bit fortunate right there. You know, to come out of that without even a scoring chance, let alone a shot on goal for St. Louis, because that was a pretty bad giveaway in a dangerous area of the field where everybody's moving one direction, and as soon as St. Louis get the ball, they're going back the other. So it's just going to take a little bit. Man, we've talked about this in a couple games where they've struggled to see out a victory or a lead to a victory or an easy victory, as it were. You just got to be a little bit more precise, a little bit cleaner in those touches and those passes and retaining possession in those situations. It doesn't always have to be the game-winning ball. It doesn't have to be that defense-splitting pass. Sometimes it's just possession, to keep possession in a safe area of the field and force the other team to continue to work.
Cooper Reese with a left forearm to the face of Roman Knox. He's down for the second time. Roman's really the only one that's taken any hard hits tonight, but appears to be okay. He's back up and ready to roll. Lions, though, back on the attack, trying to stay on sides, and will do it now. In the corner, another dangerous situation here for Kaw Valley FC, and small takedown there is going to result in a quick foul.
Yeah, this is the last place you want to be right now if you're Kaw Valley, winding down the first half, getting not too far from halftime, and then you give away a foul in a dangerous area of the field in a pretty unnecessary situation. You've got two defenders over there and the attacker running away from goal. That's exactly where you want the attacker, and then you kind of give him a little bit of a bailout in that situation.
Yeah, Lucas Bartlett called for the whistle. This one just wide of the post and curling in the right direction. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that was a shot on the free kick right there, but if it ends up in the back of the net, it doesn't matter, and that ball had a little bit of curl on it, needed a little bit more to sneak it into that upper 90 at the far post, but a very, very dangerous moment for Kaw Valley. They're playing with fire just a little bit here. Now 6 minutes before halftime, you have to get into halftime with that 1-0 lead intact, and then you can kind of take stock of where you're at in this game. You can make a change or two. You can get some fresh legs there on. I think in central midfield will probably be the first area to target, and then if you feel necessary, Ignacio Lerich sitting there on the bench, if you want to bring in somebody that's going to create some chances and maybe get that second goal.
We're going to see him. Don't need to see him quite yet. Here's Chase Bromstead out wide. That one last touched and out of play by Kaw Valley FC. Minute 40 of this first half. Lions chasing the Cranes. Look out. Here's a shot off the foot of Manuel Busquets, a bullet that's deflected out by Greg McCruden. McCruden's the one who just had that curling shot go wide that could have been the equalizer. Instead, now a corner kick coming for Kaw Valley FC, and next thing you know, one little touch and you get it to maybe your best offensive player, and a blast from Busquets, the kid from Duquesne University. He does have a goal this year That one just off of a defender. A chance here on the cross. That one kicked out of play, so we'll do it all again. A better kick this time into the center, and that one goes just wide of the goal off the header.
Really dangerous one there. It looks like Busquets is the one that got his head onto that one. I think, no, so it came off the defender there. If it didn't come off the defender there, Jordan Salt was front side of his man, got wrong side for the defender, and would have had the opportunity right there for an open header about 8 yards out from goal. That would have been an easy one to put on target for Kaw Valley and could have very, very easily doubled their lead before halftime.
So off the head of Luan Barbosa Santana, another corner kick now for the Cranes. High, long, maybe a little too long, but Kaw Valley FC gets an extra foot on it, but that one dribbles wide. Couple of chances now for the Cranes, but unable to connect. Still on top, it's 1-0. 42nd minute now. Maybe have 1 or 2 minutes added on to stoppage time. Won't be much more as we head closer and closer now to halftime. But all in all, it's been a good first 40 minutes for Kaw Valley FC. It got the early goal in the 10th minute. Put some pressure on here in the last 10 or 15 minutes have been really good. And, you know, you got some firepower coming off the bench for the second half.
No, I think the way that this game has played out, at least thus far, has been pretty good for Kaw Valley. Ever since they went up a goal, sure, they've given up more possession and the quantity of chances, but the quality hasn't quite been there for St. Louis in those moments where they've gotten into the final third. And that part of that's a product of what Kaw Valley have been able to do defensively, and it's been a team effort defensively. You just look at the field right now, you can see 10 guys back within about 35, 40 yards of goal. Everybody putting in the shift defensively. Now you've got all 11 back there, and so it really is a team effort defensively as they try to get a little bit of control of this game, and as we've talked about, see it to halftime at 1-0 at a minimum, so you can kind of retake, take stock at halftime and figure out what that second half game plan is going to be, because as we talked about in the intro, 3 points is the only result that Kaw Valley can accept tonight if they're going to continue looking at the standings and get into those playoffs.
Check locks, has it for the Lions, tries to chip one through, and it's batted out of there by Mason Visconti. He has been in the starting lineup, been active, and been really good so far here in the first half. And he shoved down from behind. Looked like McCroon got a hand on him. And the official with a long walk down. He will place the ball. And that's where Kaw Valley FC, after the foul, will get things back into play. So Kevin Commody takes his time. He'll come over to set one up, and this is even better than a corner kick, right?
That's a really dangerous angle. All it takes is the slightest touch to send it on goal.
And that one on goal and still alive in the center. Unable to grab it the first time is Weisner. He got a little bit lucky. That one came down close to where he was standing and was able to finally knock it out of there. Final couple minutes here of half number one. Cranes on top, it's 1-0. Lions, though, trying to get even. Right before half, Nito in a dangerous spot. Got ahead on it, and that one's wide. Lions certainly have had some chances in this first half. If you're head coach Tony Glavin, I think at this point, you're probably a little bit frustrated that you haven't gotten one on the board yet.
You do have to feel like, though, if Kaw Valley not able to clean up some of those small mistakes that become bigger mistakes, the chances are going to continue to come, and they will put one of them away, and they'll find themselves back at 1-1 in this game, at the absolute worst. Kaw Valley just need a little bit more, I think, patience. So a little bit more time on the ball and pick out those passes. Not everything has to be forward and aggressive and dangerous trying to create, especially in these final minutes of the first half where you want to get to halftime with your lead still intact. It's about managing the game situations and not always pushing for a second goal.
As we mentioned, didn't expect much time to be added in this first half and only 1 minute of stoppage time. So this will go by pretty quick. I think Coach Urbani's been pretty quiet down there tonight. Hadn't been many whistles. The whistles that we have had, the fouls have been on St. Louis so far tonight. Busquets gets a step and no whistle there. Challenge, got a piece of the ball, and in the final 30 seconds of this half now, maybe one last chance for the Lions. McCruden tries to center one up. And again, down to the last 10 or 15 seconds of stoppage time here. Last push for St. Louis. They'll send one in here, a long run. It goes out of play. And that'll go back over to Kaw Valley FC. And as we expected, that will do it for half number one, but an exciting one for Kaw Valley FC. Istvan Urbani's team striking first. And a quick one, Mason Visconti gets the start tonight. Andy, and bang, just like that, he makes it a 1-0 game.
Well, it's nice to be the team that starts out quickly and gets the early goal and then gets to kind of dictate the tempo of the rest of the game, or at least the first half as it's been thus far. It's been the last couple of games. Kaw Valley giving up those early goals has either given themselves a lot of work to do to come back and get the victory or a lot of work to try to come back last week against Green Bay, and obviously not able to do so.
Halftime here at Rock Chalk Park, a 1-0 game. Head coach Istvan Urbani joining Taryn Temple on the field. Taryn, let's check in with Coach.
Thanks, Kevin. Coach Ignacio Ponte not in the starting lineup tonight. How does that affect the team, and how do you think they handled it in the first half?
It's not about the starting lineup. It's not about one or two players. It's about the program. Yeah, there are some injuries, and there are other kind of thoughts. So we wanted to bring a little bit of speed for the first half. Came out good with Mason. He scored a goal. It's some way we managed the game well, but from the other side, we are making silly mistakes. So what I have to tell the boys, like, stop feeding the other team with the easy balls. So that's the thing we have to fix, and probably it comes from so they are nervous a little bit. They feel like, okay, we have to win this game, and then we'll make a huge step forward. It's true, but it's not about winning. It's about playing the game, play the right way, and then at the end of the day, we're going to take a quick look at the scoreboard.
You're familiar with the St. Louis team, your fourth time playing them. What does your team have to do in the second half to extend this lead?
Yeah, but to be honest with you, it was always a different lineup, so they're bringing something different. No, we have to have the ball more, so it's better to control the game if we have the ball. We have to be better in possession, and we have to make early decisions. So I just said to the two central defenders, stop being playmakers. They are midfield players. They have to make some movements to get the ball, and then we have to have a better build-up.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll catch up with you later. Kevin, back up to you.
Thanks, Taryn. Interesting to hear there, Andy, that maybe this team is starting to think about the postseason and what matches and games maybe are more important, but his team certainly handled that well in the first half.
He would be lying, bald-faced lie, if he said that wasn't on the player's mind just a little bit at this point. You are getting into that second half of the season. You've done a good enough job in the first half of the season to give yourself an opportunity to even consider that. And again, as we said earlier, that's a place that this team didn't find itself in 2018. So from that perspective, it is an improvement. I think you have to be pretty happy with that first half performance, but you're only halfway there. We talked about you have to have the 3 points tonight or the playoffs are going to become really, really difficult. We'll see what happens in the second half.
Halftime in Rock Chalk Park. So far, so good. Kaw Valley FC, the Cranes on top of the St. Louis Lions. It's 1-0. We're back to West Lawrence after this. Hey, back at Rock Chalk Park, we are live and a good start so far. Kaw Valley FC on top of St. Louis right now, a 1-0 game thanks to a 10th minute goal from Mason Visconti. Got this team off to a rocking and rolling start, and that is where we stand at halftime. Hey, just a quick reminder, catch the Cranes' last Lawrence home match on Saturday as the Cranes host the Des Moines Menace. All tickets just $5 as we celebrate Fan Appreciation Night. Get here early for the pre-match tailgate and lots of fun activities surrounding a 7:30 p.m. kickoff time. Again, that's on Saturday. Let's break down the first half briefly. Andy, we mentioned a quick strike from Kaw Valley FC. We kind of stressed the importance, maybe really the importance tonight of getting off to a good start on Bark in the Parks. A couple of happy pups, obviously, in on this one. But we've seen a couple of times where this has been the reverse, and you see the type of pressure that it puts on the home team. But I feel like you're a little bit more relaxed now, right? You get a quick early goal, 10th minute in, and bang, just like that. The game comes a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think you can, and as I said earlier, I think it sets up well for Kaw Valley. You want St. Louis to have to push forward and take some more chances, to create chances to try to get back into this game. That will set up for Kaw Valley just a little bit more, and that's kind of the situation that the goal here from Visconti comes from. Just a quick restart. One of the very, very few opportunities in that second half where there was a little bit of space in behind, so it's really, really good awareness to see that and recognize that situation and play the ball in behind. And Visconti, obviously, with the finish, it is still very much up for grabs, though, at just a 1-goal advantage. So you've got to either be very, very precise with your possession and your rotations defensively if you're going to see this thing out at 1-0, or you've got to be a little bit more, risk-taking in the second half. If you're going to chase a second goal, it's about finding the balance between those two things, because the last thing you want to do is kind of find yourself halfway in between and chasing a second goal, taking too many opportunities, but not creating really good chances, because then at that point, the risk is not worth the reward.
Crane struck first, but quite honestly, the next 20 to 25 minutes really kind of dominated by St. Louis. Halftime at Rock Chalk Park. Cranes on top of the Lions. It's 1-0. We're back to West Lawrence on Midcoast Sports Network after this timeout. Perfect night to have the dogs at Rock Chalk Park this evening. Got some grass for him out there, but he's comfortable on the hill. He got this guy front row wearing his Kaw Valley FC jersey, I think, tonight. Get a little rub down there from his pop. Pretty good night to be a pup at the Rock Chalk Park, right? Perfect weather to go along with it. Hey, don't forget, early bird registration for Sporting Kaw Valley's Youth Recreation and Academy Leagues is now underway. Leagues are available for players ages 3 to 18. You can save $10 by registering your player by June the 14th at sportingkawvalley.org. One half in the books. It was a good one for Kaw Valley FC. It's a 1-0 contest. If you're Ishfan Urbani, we know some changes are coming. We don't know exactly when, Andy, but what would maybe be your strategy here to get things started in the second 45?
I think I'd look to solidify the midfield as much as possible. I don't think that there's really a sub to be made in there, so I think that'll come a little bit later on in the game when you're looking for some fresh legs and you're trying to just put St. Louis under a little bit more pressure and have somebody that can get back defensively. So that's probably coming around the 65 or 70-minute mark. The thing to really keep an eye on is what minute, because we have a pretty good idea that's going to happen at some point in the second half. Does Ignacio Larich come into this game? He's been one of the 2 attacking stars. I'll say one of the 3 attacking stars for Kaw Valley this season. We'll throw Mano Busquets into that conversation as well. But really the creator among those 3, and him and Ponte, when he's been on the field, which he won't be tonight, have been deadly in their combination play between those 2. But once Larich comes on, it's going to attract a lot of attention over to that other side of the field, or maybe through the center if that's where he's playing, and that's going to open up Mano Busquets with a lot more time on the ball. He's going to have a lot more space to run into, which is something that he didn't have much of in the first half, but he still found other ways to be effective. So I think once he comes on, that's going to completely change the game. And if things go right for Kaw Valley and they're able to get the ball to those 2 players, they should have a number of high-quality chances. And I think you have to like their chance then to find a second goal in this game and maybe, just maybe, put it out of reach.
Tony Glavin's Lions, meanwhile, a lot of possession, a lot of time of possession in that first half, just unable to get one in the back of the net and past Nico Nito. Hey, let's take one more time out when we come back. Second half action from Rock Chalk Park. Kaw Valley FC 1, St. Louis 0. And back at Rock Chalk Park, beautiful nights in West Lawrence. We've actually had, with the exception of opening night, which got completely canceled, Andy, we've had some beautiful nights here. Last year, I feel like we got almost burned out of here, a couple of 90-something degree nights, and it was really hot. But we have not had that kind of late May and or early June at all for these Kaw Valley FC games.
Yeah, I'll say I'm a big fan of the late May, early June home schedule here in Lawrence. So if there's anybody from the league office out there listening tonight, we'll take more of that in 2020, please.
You know, and this has been a complaint of mine for a while. You know, I've always felt bad for like the Kansas softball and baseball teams. Just when the weather gets great here, those seasons are wrapping up. Kind of wish the seasons in the spring maybe get delayed a month or so to give the northern teams a little bit better chance. But you know, hey, at least the facility's getting used on a beautiful night, and the USL2 is here.
Well, and I also think it's lent itself to better soccer as well, and you don't have players that you know, the fitness lasts just a little bit longer, you're a little bit sharper, and so I think we've seen, and obviously the improvement of the team from 2018 to 2019 has been pretty apparent, but just in terms of the physical condition of the players from minute 1 to 90, when it's 75 degrees out here, it's a lot different than playing when it's 95 at kickoff, the way that it was for just about every game here at Rock Chalk Park last season. So, you know, it sets up Kaw Valley for a bit of difficulty down the home stretch of the regular season, obviously having to go on the road for so many games, what will be big, crucial games if they're to get into the playoffs. But at the same time, they've taken care of business at home, and I think that's a big reason why.
I seem to recall a couple of breaks last year to get some water.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
A little overheating. And I don't think we've had that at all so far in 2019. Hey, let's switch ends now. Again, St. Louis in the road white and green, and Kaw Valley FC in the home grays. No substitutions as we get things started off here. So here we go, half number 2, and see if the Cranes can put a quick one on the board and really make this a comfortable lead. As we heard Coach Urbano, you mentioned heading into the half, said, you know, that got some nerves. These games are getting more important. They're getting bigger. But this team right now has put itself in a perfect position to really make up some ground and put another 3 points on the board.
Yeah, it's just another one of those tests as you progress through the season and start to look towards the playoffs, which individuals are going to respond positively to that pressure and are going to rise to what is, you know, an increasingly big moment in the course of the season, and who is going to continue to look a little bit nervous and maybe kind of play themselves out of a spot once you come down the home stretch of this season. You know, Coach Urbano will be observing individually just as much tonight in a game like this, and then again on Saturday, excuse me, when Des Moines comes into town, who he can really rely on in those big moments. So it's a bit of a tryout for the really big games to come down the stretch for this team right now.
Nice control right there at midfield, and now some numbers. You've got a 4-on-3 and a long shot taken and deflected there. Andy Edwards shaking his head. It's Kevin Commody tried to send that one toward the net. He, though, gets it back, and here comes Commody. He maybe has a chance now. A little back pass, but nobody home. And Andy, I think you wanted a reversal. I think you wanted the ball on the other side.
I wanted the ball to the left, and then I wanted it to the right. They were both there, and I think it was the one to the left to find. I believe it was Mason Visconti out there. Was the simpler one and the earlier one, and probably would have set up a chance at the near post or the far post. Just getting a shot there from that spot, deflected, so quickly blocked. About the worst outcome that you could have in that situation.
Brandon Burton with a try at the opposite end. That one stopped by Nito, and back comes Kaw Valley FC. A couple of minutes in here to the second half. Both teams with a couple of chances. Busquets taps it back to Wilkinson. And they will reverse field here. Scanti over there in the area. He can't get to it. Maybe a real chance here. That one kept in play. Numbers for Kaw Valley FC across, and not quite enough under it, but Visconti had the right idea.
Yeah, it's a really dangerous ball, and though hit with as much power behind it as it was, difficult for the defender to get a solid foot on it and clear it out of there. Very, very high probability of skewing that one and sending it into his own net.
And Busquets, that just over his head right in front of the goal. Almost a really good opportunity for the Cranes.
And we saw Coach Urbano second fastest on the throw-in. Back to his player right there, beaten by the ball kid. He's going to have to, given a handshake and recognizing somebody that's as on top of it as he is. You got to love to see that.
You know, we saw Coach in action a couple weeks ago, but that is when his team was trailing. Good to see him still trying to keep this game moving along quickly with his team in the lead.
And you can see the coaching up extends to the ball boys as well out here with Kaw Valley.
Jordan Salt missed a header there, and for a moment, Brandon Burton looked like he had some space and control, but instead it's tapped away, and Kaw Valley FC comes away with it. 49th minute, 1-0 our score. Cranes on top, trying to tack on 3 more points in the Heartland Division already with 14 in second place, chasing the Des Moines Menace. And that team coming to Lawrence in Rock Chalk Park, a game you can see live right here on Midcoast Sports Network, 7:30 on Saturday night. You know, kind of one of those weekends where, you know, last weekend, 2 games, just 1 point. I know the expectation is to do much better this weekend. Mistake, though, here, and a blast up close off the post. That was Burton. A second try. It's saved by Nito. 2 dangerous chances from the St. Louis Lions. Nico Nito doing a nice job on the save, and then this one from Burton, just a bullet right off the post.
Well, that right-hand post on that goal down there at that north end of the stadium has been a savior against the St. Louis team for Kaw Valley twice already this season.
It's wider. It's just a little bit wider.
That's the second time.
I'm making that up,
yeah,
but it
really,
sure seems like it.
Yeah, high leverage situations. They continue to hit that post there, and Kaw Valley just get let off the hook. Now, last time when it happened, they ended up giving up a goal not long after. We'll see how they respond to being under this kind of pressure this time around.
And you ask yourself, what's the difference between picking up 3 points or picking up 1 point in the Heartland Division? And sometimes it's about an inch. Second chance here. Here's Checklocks into the box. This one fires wide, and that one almost hit the opposite post. Shots raining now from St. Louis.
Well, the tempo has just gone up from St. Louis as they continue to chase this game and, for all intents and purposes, try to save their season and keep it alive as they look towards the playoffs. And they've come out in the second half really quick, really energetic, and putting a lot of pressure in dangerous areas. And you see how high they're pressing up right now, not allowing at all that pass out of the back and forcing these kind of chipped balls over the top, which are immediately given back, and almost every single time have resulted in chances for the Lions.
Crane's trying to finally get one across midfield. It's been a while. A couple of great chances, not just shots, but really, really good shots for the Lions. One off a post, the second one almost off a post, and that one not kept in play, so the Lions will get it back. And we have played most of this half so far on the left end. Long way to go in this one. If head coach Ishvan or Banyu thought stress level seemed a little bit higher for his team in the first half, I think it's ratcheted up about 3 more notches here in the first 7 minutes of the second half. Didn't hear the whistle much in the first half.
Thank you to our partners at the UPS store of Lawrence and
The officials have done a nice job in this one because things could have gotten out of hand pretty quick early. They didn't. And really, we haven't had, I don't think we've had anything that we'd consider dirty tonight. Any dangerous plays. A couple of bodies went down and a little pushing and shoving here and there, but nothing too out of the ordinary. Long ball sent in from Josh Graham, tracked down by Kaw Valley. And right now the Lions just a little bit quicker to the ball. Maybe not here. Commodi, nice through ball to Busquets. See if he can get a foot on one. Nice stop. Kick back. Here's a shot. That one deflected. Busquets, though, will keep it in. Another little tap. Commodi's got it. Trying to find some space. Surrounded, though, by 3 defenders from St. Louis, and that one's finally cleared out.
That's a nicely executed counterattack from Kaw Valley, though. Commodi, the player you want to start the break going the other direction. You want your playmaking number 10 to be the one that the ball falls to, the guy who's got the vision, has the timing and the feel for when that pass needs to come, where it needs to go. He split a couple defenders and put it perfectly in there for Busquets. It looked like he was going to try and cut back into the left side around the defender and get the shot for himself. But again, you get a couple of opportunities on the counter. It's more than we saw on most of those, those kind of similar situations in the first half. And increasingly, as this game wears on, we're going to see more and more of those for Kaw Valley.
Busquets, a nice little chippy into Urbani. Keeps it in play, and a corner kick coming. That one last touched by Cooper Reese. Starting to see some of the playmaking ability that we saw earlier this season. Maybe the first time this group and this bunch has played a lot together. And I think we're starting to see some of that speed.
Yeah, it's all about the combinations and how quickly they can string together 1, 2, 3 pass sequences and the way that Urbani pushed up there. And I think that's important as well. Just get a few more numbers into that attacking third of the field. And then once you do, you're able to overload one side the way that Urbani and Busquets were able to do there with Wilkinson coming back up from the right back spot. And you just keep everybody honest.
Mason Visconti, one bouncing through the middle. And nobody in gray could get a foot on it. However, kept in Urbani. Nice job. Here's Visconti again, the cross, and that one's booted out of there by the Lions. Amazing how quickly this match has switched. First 5 or 6 minutes of this half totally dominated by St. Louis, and now the last 2 or 3. It's been all Kaw Valley FC. Here's Visconti, the left foot, puts one on goal, but it's saved by Wisner.
Well, those are just areas of the field where Kaw Valley weren't able to get on the ball in the first half, and Visconti pops up 25 yards from goal, kind of in the hole, sitting a little bit off of right there at center forward, and Commodi just looking forward and finds him so easily. A little bit less resistance through the middle of the field from St. Louis here in these last few minutes. You have to wonder if they're beginning to tire just a little bit and what that's going to do for Kaw Valley, the number of chances they get in the second half, but also the quality and the location that they come from.
56th minute, Kaw Valley still on top, 1-0. We may have our first substitution crawling to the table here, and that looks like Nicholas Andre. Coach Urbani told us this is kind of the similar substitution patterns that we've seen from him. Starters get another 10 or 15 minutes in the second half, and then one by one trying to find some tired legs, get those out of the game, and get some fresh legs in.
Yeah, the only thing about that is, especially in a one-goal situation, you don't want to make too many changes. You don't want to do it too quickly as well. You want to give those players, after they come on, a few minutes to kind of settle in with those partnerships that are now formed after the substitution, so that guys can get comfortable playing alongside one another before you introduce somebody else new into the equation, because you've been playing for 50, 55, 60 minutes in a game, and you start to read who you're playing next to or who's playing in front of you and behind you, and then suddenly it's somebody different with different tendencies and different ideas, and somebody's not there in a crucial moment where you're looking to play a pass, under pressure, and you give it away, and it's a chance going back the other direction. So you want to strike the balance between those two things. And I think for the most part, this season, Coach Urbani has pushed most of the right buttons when it comes to making substitutions in these second halves, because a number of players have come off the bench to then go on and score goals.
So 36 coming in and number 4 coming off. So Chase Wright, his night is done. Solid outing for him. And now Nicholas Andre steps in on that attacking line now for Kaw Valley FC.
Number 36, Nicholas Andre.
Well, our first real look at Chase Wright this season, and I think it was a solid outing for him this evening.
Yeah, it was, and he did a lot of work defensively. He did a lot of running in behind and trying to show as an option. The pass and the ball through to him wasn't always there, so a lot of it can be thankless work as a center forward in those situations. But he played his part in the goal as well, drew a little bit of attention, which created that space in behind for Visconti. So, a promising performance from him, and it's nice to see a little bit of depth there at that center forward position for a team that, doesn't have a true center forward on this team, and they've kind of strung it together with a few different guys thus far.
I feel like a lot of guys have had an opportunity just in the games that we've done.
Well, we're seeing another one right now.
Yeah.
Andre comes into the game. He's sitting real deep, You know, it's tough to tell if defensive midfield or as kind of a third center back at this point, but he's really deep, which means Kevin Commody has pushed forward into kind of that central role. I would imagine it's going to operate somewhat similarly to how it looks when Ponte is out there on the field. You're just not going to have a player who's got quite the nose for goal. His first tendency is always going to be to look to play the pass and to create a chance for someone else, but he can still operate as kind of the focal point, the fulcrum of that attack. It's just going to mean a lot more runs in behind from Busquets and Visconti, and he'll be the one that's certainly going to be looking to play those passes to them for the chance.
Comes Czech Locks, taking his time. A long ball into the corner, a beautiful header into the center of the field, and some trouble now, and a shot that ricochets off of Nito. Or maybe not, maybe it didn't touch him, but it hits the side of the netting. And maybe some confusion down there as the Cranes get together and this ball, and yeah, I think that did go off his shoulder. So the Cranes catching a break here. Thought I saw that there, Coach Edwards. And it looks like a familiar face now about ready to check in is Ignacio Lerich. Will join this contest momentarily. And my guess is Mason Visconti's night may be done. But we will see. Kevin Commody almost had a long breakaway there, didn't he? He couldn't have gotten a little more foot on that ball. It'd been one-on-one with the goalkeeper for a long time. Almost from midfield, and Commody maybe another chance here as he takes one away. And you see Lerich on the sideline down here trying to get loose in front of us. The sun's setting just a little bit. Taryn, is it cool down there? A little nice early. You know, we were out there earlier, and it was really warm with the sun out. Taryn joining us up here upstairs here for just a minute. She was down there at halftime with Coach, and in the shade now. It's cooling off a little bit. I think we were almost set a record low in Northeast Kansas this morning, the upper 40s. This is June, right?
So they say.
So they say. Lerich coming in. Visconti, he's got the goal, but his night is done.
Yeah, nice performance tonight. Really nice showing from Mason Visconti. Obviously the goal, but a lot outside of that as well. He was dangerous down the wing, put in 3 or 4 really good crosses into the box that made St. Louis really have to scramble to get back. He had a couple of opportunities to play the ball in behind. Just kind of a nice, again, all-around performance from Visconti there in one of the first starts that we've seen from him this season, at least here at Rock Chalk Park. And now the big question is, what do you get from Ignacio Lerich? And I'm very intrigued to see what a 30-minute performance from Lerich looks like when he's able to just go 100% for a little bit shorter time in this game, kind of similar to when a starting pitcher transitions into being a closer. And instead of holding him back at 94 miles an hour for 6 or 7 innings, just let him throw 99, 100 for a single inning and see how effective a player can be. I'm very, very curious to see, because he has faded about 50, 55, certainly 60 minutes into a game, but now with just 30 minutes and the opportunity to be the difference maker and to put this game away, he has this could be the formula going forward where, you know, someone like Visconti put some minutes and some miles on those legs for the opposing defense early in the game, and then Lerich is the guy that comes in to finish it off.
Worked just fine for Wade Davis. Why wouldn't it work for Ignacio Lerich, right?
It's a sentence that I never thought I would hear in my life.
Never thought we'd combine those two. Didn't think I'd ever say Wade Davis on one of these telecasts, but here we are. 63rd minute, 1-0, Kaw Valley FC on the attack with the lead. Speaking of Lerich, that one deflected out. Busquets, he won the battle to the ball, but it looks like he'll end up getting it back. Wilkinson momentarily, but one of the few whistles we've had in this one, a little extracurricular, will get the ball back for St. Louis. Crossing into minute 64 now, heading to 90. It's been 1-0 for an awfully long time. Visconti's goal came in the 10th minute, some 53 minutes ago.
The longer it stays 1-0, the more you get a little bit worried about not finding that second goal. And there's been a couple chances, a couple pretty good chances for Kaw Valley, not yet able to find the back of the net a second time. But again, bringing Larich on could prove to be kind of that trump card, the pulling the rabbit out of the hat for Kaw Valley. Try to put this game away, because they do need those 3 points if they're going to give themselves a little bit of breathing room in the standings. And you kind of look at the remaining schedule, what they've got left and what Green Bay has in terms of the sheer number of games left on the schedule.
Make no mistake about it, though, the better chances in the second half have definitely come from St. Louis. Had a very hard hit ball off the left post, and then another one just wide of the right post on very clearly what would have been goals if either one had just somehow been a couple inches over. But a chance like this really is all that Kaw Valley FC needs. That's Roman Knox, the kid from North Carolina. There's Larich, a beauty in front. Commodi, yes! And Kaw Valley FC takes a 2-0 lead.
Number 11, Kevin Commodi.
Well, how's that for the combination play coming back on the counter attack, by the way? How many times have we talked about Kaw Valley? The majority of their chances would be on the counter tonight, and a huge credit right there in the middle of the field before that play even developed to Roman Knox, the one who won that 50-50 ball there, and it took two very quick touches to get around the opposing midfielder and then skate right up the field very quickly and then put that ball into space for Ignacio Larich. It took a perfectly weighted pass for him to get in behind and then make what was the very unselfish play to cut it across for Kevin Commodi. I thought he might look to take a shot there because he had an angle. He wouldn't have been in the wrong to have shot there, but he recognized that Commodi was all by himself at that back post. And by the way, the composure and control of Commodi to not just lash at it with the first touch as the ball comes across, but to corral it, control it, compose himself, set his body up to then kind of lift it over the goalkeeper all around from the middle of the field into the back of the net. A perfectly executed counterattack from Kaw Valley.
You beat me to it, Andy. I thought for sure that would have been a shot off the right foot of Ignacio Larich, but instead he does one much better. And yeah, Commodi, just the composure in the middle of that field. Gained control, realized he had some time, made the goalkeeper commit, tapped it right by him.
Well, and the thing is, we just talked about it, with Wright coming off, Commodi's been pushed up into a quasi-center forward role, and that's not where he's used to operating, and to show that kind of composure in a somewhat unfamiliar position is even more impressive.
Look at Busquets get around a defender, awfully close in goal. That one's tapped out of there, but Kaw Valley FC keeps it in. Here's Urbani, Christoph looking, taking his time, and a couple of more substitutions will check in here shortly. Colin Ennis will come in here for Kaw Valley FC, and then the first substitution of the game will be Luke Andrews for the St. Louis Lions. So Ennis will come in, it looks like, for Roman Knox. Boy, another dangerous ball that almost gets through, and who would have been there? Looks like number 21. He's got the fresh legs tonight. Boy, what a boost. What a boost that second goal is, and that's just makes things much more frantic now for St. Louis in the final 23 minutes. Instead, it gives you a little bit of breathing room for Kaw Valley.
It does. It doesn't mean you can take your foot off the gas or you can go to sleep, though. We saw how quickly it changed last week. You know, once Kaw Valley got a goal back to get to 2-1 down against Green Bay, then they were in complete control of the game, and they created nothing but chances the rest of the way. Unfortunate not to draw level on the penalty kick by Christoph Urbani, but all it takes is one goal, and then this is back to a really nervy situation, more so than before, because then the momentum is really with St. Louis in that moment.
Yeah, second goal is certainly good. A third goal
priceless.
Would be gooder. it would be great. You put another one on the board, make it really difficult. But what a situation to be in now. And this was the score of the last time these two teams met a couple of weeks ago over in Topeka. 69th minute. Dangerous, though, chance here now for St. Louis. Basically a better angled corner kick on the way. And a beauty right in front. That one's headed out. St. Louis, though, able to keep it in. See if Kaw Valley can get it out, and it finally does. That one last touched by the Cranes. And here we'll get those substitutions. So as mentioned, Roman Knox exits for Colin Ennis for Kaw Valley FC. And as we mentioned, Luke Andrews coming in for Luan Barbosa Santana.
Number 25, Roman Knox.
Really didn't mention Barbosa Santana's name much a ton tonight. He seemed to be very active when we last saw him, and actually did score, I believe, the one goal that St. Louis has scored in 4 matches against Kaw Valley FC.
Yeah, and that's a credit to Kaw Valley, you know, kind of recognizing the danger man from the last time that these two teams played and adjusting the game plan accordingly to really limit his opportunities and his effectiveness.
Cranes trying to get it out of there. This one chipped in from St. Louis. A beautiful save from Nito. Diving one-hander, and that one was heading into the back of the net, but check out the play from number 77. And that was Andrews just into the game and almost making an immediate impact.
Yeah, it's a great save there by Neto, getting all the way across. I mean, that header's placed about as well as it could be. It's not low, it's high. You got to get the goalkeeper at full stretch to get to that one. And he saw it, and he read it, and he reacted accordingly. But just another dangerous moment now for Kaw Valley as we get to 20 minutes to go in this game.
And Busquets knocked down just outside the box. The whistle blows a foul on St. Louis. So a free kick coming from, it's going to be about 19 yards. This should set up to be a great chance for Kaw Valley FC. That is if Manel Busquets is okay. Takes a shot from behind from St. Louis. He was in a really good position. Had won that ball, but got banged up from behind.
The Cranes currently sit in second place in the Heartland Division, 1 point out of first place.
Medical crew on the field for the first time tonight. Take a second look, Andy, at it here. And a battle for the ball. Busquets the inside position, but he's hit pretty hard from behind by Chad Hamler.
Yeah, it looked to
from
be
Eastern Illinois.
A little bit of a whiplash action right there of either the forearm into the back of Busquets as he's in the air and completely given his body up, or a little bit of maybe contact between the two heads of the two players, but with Hamler coming out of there pretty clean. Yeah, it appears to be fine. It looks like he's kind of favoring that shoulder, so it just took a complete...
Let's not talk about shoulder injuries. Right?
A complete jarring once he gave himself up and left the ground and went into the air. It's a dangerous play from a defender to come in against a defenseless player like that. Almost makes you wonder, is that not worthy of a yellow card? Because he's clearly, as you said, won the ball clearly in an advantageous situation. And for the defender to come in and just kind of clear him out like that, it is dangerous, and it completely rules out a chance for Kaw Valley.
And with the injury, he'll have to come off the field momentarily, and this is a situation that you'd like to have him out there with his size. And this one chipped way too high off the foot of Kevin Commodi, so out of play. That'll get Busquets back into the game, and just about ready for minute 73. Good shape, though, for the Cranes on top 2-0. 10th minute, it was Mason Visconti, and then, of course, the second goal added in the 65th minute. Kevin Commodi on the assist from Ignacio Lerich. So I mentioned it's a 2-score game right now, but just watching it with what we have seen, this feels closer. It really does. We've had a couple of great chances for St. Louis, the one off the post, and Andy wants a quicker kick to reverse field, instead taking his time. Busquets, that one tapped out momentarily, will roll out of play, and that'll be an inbound now for Patrick Wilkinson. And the wholesale substitutions now coming for the Lions, and a takedown. Busquets getting mixed up. A lot of extracurriculars now, and he and Hamler, I don't think they're getting along right now.
Well, Kaw Valley continuing to put pressure on St. Louis down the right side of attack, the left side of defense, and I think that they've kind of identified either Hamler as the player that they want to go at along that back line, a player who was playing as a forward the last time that these two teams played here at Rock Chalk Park, but also it's the attention, it's the gravity of Ignacio Larich coming into the game and how much attention is being paid to him and the bodies that are being put to that other side of the field. Busquets is in one-on-one situations now, which was not the case in the first half, and as we've seen a number of times already this season, Mano Busquets in one-on-one situations, he's going to win most of the time.
So here's Christophe Urbani. And ahead, a solid header on one that's wide from Lucas Bartlett. Good from Drake, grew up in Overland Park. And two more substitutions for St. Louis. Brandon Burton is out. That's going to get Ben Weber into the game. And then also coming on will be Max Kleeman for, it looks like, Stefan Angelic.
Coming on, number 28. Number 14. For number 7, number 18.
So a lot of fresh legs now into the game for both teams as we head into the final 15 at Rock Chalk Park. A few more solid minutes here from the home team, and 3 huge points will be added in the Heartland Division standings, but a really dangerous ball here, and Nito's able to bounce it away. That was Luke Andrews, and another shot stops by Nico. And there's Andrews. We just mentioned he came in for Barbosa Santana. He broke free. Couldn't quite find the right angle, and credit Nico for that one. He was in the right spot. Didn't give really Andrews too many looks and too many places to try to put that ball.
Yeah, just really, really easy for St. Louis there in that situation, though. Just a simple ball into the channel between the defender, between the center back and the right back on that play, and nobody home back defensively. Got to be a little bit more aware there along that back line, because it's going to get more direct, it's going to get more aggressive from St. Louis, and that ball is going to become the new norm, and you can't get beaten by it time and time again.
And here's another one. And on the run, that is Andrews. No, late whistle. As he kind of takes down, looks like Nick Andre from behind. As Andre trying to create some space, post up a little bit. Number 29, the little Mack truck known as Luke Andrews, just rolls right over him. 14 minutes remaining with stoppage time to be added.
For number 13, David Marshall.
So David Marshall now, he comes off. Joe Spatansky's into the game. That's 4 substitutions now in for head coach Tony Glavin's squad, and 3 so far into the contest for head coach Ishvan Urbani. You mentioned some direct chances, and maybe another one here. Andy, very quickly. St. Louis with more opportunities. It's Checklocks trying to get around a defender.
Another very nervy moment there for center back Jordan Salt on the far side. That ball over the top, just misread it a little bit, and then very lucky that that's not just an easy skate into the box and chance one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Kaw Valley, once again, and we've said this a couple times tonight, and we've said it a number of times in past games where they've had somewhat of a narrow lead in these tense situations getting laid in. They're playing with fire, and they continue to give St. Louis hope and life.
And this one tipped right at Nito again. He's able to get it right in front of the post, but again, that ball in some dangerous territory in front of the goal. But a good solid night, though, for 77 this evening. Showing off that leg as well. Another bomb, see if Busquets can get a hand on it. No, it's not yet full defensive mode, but you're pretty close right now if you're Kaw Valley FC. You don't need another goal. You just want to waste time and get this thing over. And right now you're 12 minutes away. St. Louis, though, pressing every single chance. The frantic style of a team in desperate need of not one, but at least 2 goals to draw even. And, you know, we talked about, Coach had mentioned earlier about what it would take, some nerves as Busquets now breaks away across midfield. Commodity trying to catch up with it about how his team was nervous. Imagine what the situation St. Louis is in right now. That's a team that's 7 points behind Kaw Valley FC. Same number of games played. Talk about stress just through the halfway point of the season and the playoffs really getting into the rearview mirror right now if you're the Lions.
Yeah, desperation mode at this point, just about 11 minutes to go in this game. And you said they need 2 goals. I would say they need 3 goals, really, if they're going to give themselves any hope of making a push towards the playoffs. So for Kaw Valley, you know, it's the same situation. You know, anything but 3 points tonight, I think, would be a huge disappointment. Obviously, considering the fact that they're up 2 goals right now, but just in the grand scheme of this entire season and the way that the standings are going to move and shake out over the rest of the way, they've got to find a way to see out games from this position and not just get to the finish line, but to get there comfortably. And they've not been able to do that yet this season. We'll see if they can do it now.
Busquets, some fancy footwork, taking his time. Makes a move, gets one into the center, and unfortunately, Larich not able to get there.
Fans, after the match, head across the parking lot to the Best Western Plus for drink and food specials.
But once again, how dangerous is he when it's one-on-one against a defender? When it's one-on-two, he still comes out of there about half the time and you know, comes out the other side. But when it's one-on-one, and he has given Hamler just nightmares for almost this entire second half, at least since Ignacio Larich came into the game. And it's become very, very evident that it is an attacking trio for Kaw Valley that we need to really consider as the stars of this team, not just the duo of Ponte and Larich, and the fact that both of them in these last 20 minutes or so have been able to have such an impact and be as dangerous as they have without Ponte on the field, I think is a really, really promising sign, because you go into future games if you don't have him available and you're not immediately thinking, we don't have our best player. What can we do? We can't really do it tonight. They can, and they've shown it in these last 20 minutes since Larich has come into this game. And even before that, you know, with Visconti getting the opening goal and being dangerous in different ways, they've shown a couple different ways to kind of operate and exist without their best player on the field.
We've talked about the offense and really the offensive guys that we have got to know. Kaw Valley maybe with another opportunity here to put another one on the board. Larich trying to get there. He taps it over. Can he get one on goal? Not quite, and a great save and a header out of there with the goalkeeper out of position. Wow, dangerous, dangerous play. Floris Blom, he's the one that knocked it out of there. Somehow Larich, that one just touching Wisner as it goes by, and a great play by Larich to keep it in play, but Commodity, who was there, couldn't get ahead on it.
Colin Ennis had about 3 or 4 different options in that situation. He took, I would say, the most difficult one, but also the prettiest one, the chip ball right over the top to Larich and sets up for a difficult chance, and he did well to get his foot on it. Obviously puts it a little bit wide, but follows it up and is able to get it back across goal and continue the chance. So it's more really good attacking play and creative and thoughtful attacking from Kaw Valley. It's not just the obvious simple play, you know, from Colin Ennis there in that situation, and really putting St. Louis under pressure. If you felt like they were getting desperate a few minutes ago as we talked about it, imagine how they're feeling right now, knowing they're 2 goals down and that Kaw Valley are continuing to press, and they're really starting to take control of this game and be the more aggressive team and create the chances.
Back across midfield and more action from Kaw Valley FC. Maybe a 3rd goal is in the works here for the Cranes, even though trying to really just wind some more time off the clock. Get control, be in control. We'll chat with head coach Ishvan Irbani after this one as Taryn Temple heads down to the field. And last time we heard from him, not so thrilled. It was a rough night here at Rock Chalk Park, but maybe going to be excited tonight. Onside or off. And the flag, it didn't come up. Just a shot that goes wide from Commodity. Everybody was looking to the side. Everybody was waiting for the offside call.
St. Louis off the hook there. Obviously, that's a chance one-on-one with the goalkeeper. If you're Commodity, you got to put it in the back of the net. And obviously, he's disappointed to not do so. Went for kind of the fantastic finish, what would have been an exclamation point on this game, and a 3-0 lead, probably a 3-0 victory. When I think he could have made it a little bit more simpler for himself. Take a touch around the goalkeeper, and then you can walk it into the open net in that situation. Maybe seeing a guy out of his natural position a little bit uncomfortable in that situation.
Here's Larich at the opposite, and always fun to watch him go 1-on-1 or maybe 1-on-3 or 1-on-4, and that one tipped just wide. So corner kick coming for Kaw Valley FC. And the Cranes, it's been an interesting match, really. This team has played more aggressively, I think, in the last 15, 20 minutes since taking Andy the 2-goal lead at a time when you might expect the squad to go more into a defensive type hold of position. But I think we've had better chances the last 15. And let's credit some of that. Obviously, St. Louis has to be more aggressive and take more chances itself. But at a time when you might not think that ball would get across midfield, it has been across midfield an awful lot.
Yeah, I think Kaw Valley have kind of attacked this game in reverse from kind of the normal line of thinking, bring in arguably your best available attacker off the bench in this game, and already having a goal advantage and the advantageous situation that puts you in, and really kind of, as I said earlier, shifting through the gears of you know, a 90-minute game and the different situations and game states that you find yourself in. From that perspective, it's been pretty impressive. You still want to see a little bit more control in that 1-0 situation where they gave up a number of really, really good chances. And it honestly should have been 1-1, if not 2-1 to St. Louis at a couple points in this game. But they got through it, and then they have been able to kind of refine their footing in this game. And as you say, they're the ones all over St. Louis at the moment as this game slowly, but now quickly, with just 5 minutes to go, winds down.
I'm going to guess probably 2 minutes maybe added on tonight, so take that into consideration. Maybe have 6 to 7 minutes left in this one. If you're Kaw Valley FC, just keep it safe. You don't want to give up one here and then have a very frantic final 5. But Chad Hamler, he's got 3 goals on the season, trying to get one back in play. Instead, here you go, a run out the opposite way. Fresh legs of Ignacio Larich. Taking his time, trying to put on a move or 2, maybe 3, and then he gets shoved down just outside the box. Didn't hear a whistle. I think Joshua Graham may have gotten away with one. Literally just pushed Larich in the back. Nice header out. Wilkinson now with it. Colin Innes controlling it momentarily. Commodity trying to, I think, trick the side judge into making the wrong call.
Number 24, Ian
A couple of new substitutions. Ian Gammon now
for number 25, Chad Hamler.
Into the game. He comes in for
And
Hamler.
number 17, Cooper Reese.
And Cooper Reese is going to check out, and that's going to get Aiden Rahill in. And unless they're going to substitute the Lions for a goalkeeper, that's going to do it for substitutions on that side. Meanwhile, still got some fresh legs willing to check in. Tommy Fazell will get in shortly for Kaw Valley FC. And Busquets, he had stopped running. Commodity actually had sent a pretty nice ball down to the corner. Clock, though, continues to tick away. 88th minute. Cranes on top. It's 2-0. Fazell and David Ray. They will join the party here momentarily. They'll have to get loose quick because this game will be over very quick. Lions, though, continue to put the pressure on. Still just a 2-goal game. And a ball out wide. This should be an easy cross into traffic. Cranes are there. Andy, is this a handball? And not a good place to get a handball, is it?
This is not seeing out the game to an easy victory. That's and as you said, it should have been an easy ball to deal with coming into the box. You just get a foot high and you boot it out in any direction. It doesn't matter where it goes. And now you've got a penalty, and we're facing a 2-1 game with what could now be 3 or 4 minutes of stoppage time with all the substitutions, and what could be a second goal in the second half.
Greg McCrudden fires one into the net, and just like that, it's a 2-1 contest. This goal coming in the 89th minute, and now the next couple of minutes are going to be really nervous. But how huge now is Kevin Comody's goal in the 65th, because it could be the game winner. And no chance that time from Nicholas Nito.
Well, how huge could Kevin Comody's second goal have been in about the 82nd or 83rd minute, though? And this is what we talk about when we say, you know, great chances and missed chances that come back to haunt teams. That's one that you could directly think back on and say, that should have been a goal, and that would have really put this game out of reach of St. Louis. And now, a team that needs 3 points themselves, probably a little too late to get that, but they have an opportunity to really spoil things for Kaw Valley, what has been a pretty good performance and would really put them into you know, a strong position in the standings, just a little bit past the halfway point of this season. They're playing with fire. How many times have we said it tonight?
Here we go. So David Ray, Tommy Fizel checking in for Ishvan Banyi's squad. We are approaching minute 91. We'll see how much time gets added here as time ticks away. I'm going to guess at least 3 minutes now with the injury or two, a couple of long timeouts with the goals being scored, and I believe 3 minutes will be added here in stoppage time. A very dangerous and nerve-wracking 3 minutes here on the way. A 2-0 game for roughly the entire contest. But an inadvertent handball in deep and a PK scored by St. Louis from Greg McCrudden, and suddenly it's not very comfortable at 2-1. Long ball here though, and a long run. Tommy Fizel. Fizel gonna chase it into the corner. We need a camera on Andy Edwards right now. He is all the hand signals to run to the corner and surround it. Ball, though, last touched by Fizel, so goal kick coming here. St. Louis with it back in play. 1 minute down, 2 to go. Kaw Valley FC trying to hang on to 3 points here at home. And a dangerous long ball. Nito in position, chipped out wide, and Cranes come away with it. It's never easy, is it, Edwards? Never. It's never easy.
It really isn't, but it could be. It could be. It's what they're working towards, and obviously it is a difficult situation when you've got a short season and you're bringing players together for, you know, a lot of them for the first time playing together, and you've only got about 3 training sessions before the first game, and I understand all the circumstances, you know, but if this is to be a team that kind of takes that leap and that next step into being, you know, a team that's going to contend for a championship. Let's not even just talk about getting to the playoffs, but doing something in the playoffs, you've got to be able to do it.
And a long shot that sails just over the outstretched arms of Nito and just over the crossbar and into the back wall. Another sigh of relief from everyone in light blue, and just a bullet here, the right foot, and just high. Two minutes gone in stoppage time. Down to the final 50 seconds. That's just the second goal on that PK that the Lions have scored against Kaw Valley FC, and I think Laris just hammered one to Eudora.
I think he might have hit my car.
He might have. Another long ball here. This one in play could be dangerous. Kaw Valley finally clears it out. Nice job there. And again, Larich running down the sideline, see if he can catch up with it. down to the last 20 seconds possibly. Little push in the back, that's on Urbani, but that'll stop play momentarily. We'll see how much longer the officials let this one go. We're in the final 10 seconds of stoppage time. Kaw Valley on top, it's 2-1. Laird's trying to delay things a little bit longer. Gonna at least get one more long ball. Check locks, lets one fly here. Dangerous situation. Ball in front, that one's tapped out. We've crossed the 3-minute barrier. How much longer will the officials let it go? Check locks again, fires one in, very dangerous. One more clear from Kaw Valley should do it, and that is it, but it was not easy. It was stressful at the end, but the final score, Kaw Valley FC 2, the St. Louis Lions 1. And somehow, some way, Coach Ishvan Urbani's team gets out of here, Andy, with 3 points.
I think if these two teams played 100 times, about 95 of them would finish 2-1.
Every minute counts.
And it would
Every
be
minute's exciting.
Extremely tight and nervy in those last few minutes of the game. And the team that's down would be all over the team that's it continues to play out the same way game after game between these two teams. But at the same time, that means that Kaw Valley continue to come out of games with the St. Louis Lions team with points, 3 at a time. Not just one for the most part, not none at all in any of the 4 matchups this season, but another victory, and they give themselves barely a 10-point lead on 3rd place right now, Green Bay, and they find themselves after 8 games played, we've got 17 points. That's more than 2 points per game. It's a better average than taking, winning at home and drawing on the road. It's just a really, really strong spot for Kaw Valley to be in at this point of the season, and they continue to in some ways impress, and then leave in other ways room for improvement and very, very tangible things that you can look at and say, if they could work on this, if they could improve this, this team would go to the next level in terms of how competitive they are and kind of the tier, the echelon that they find themselves in.
Cranes led this game for roughly 85 minutes, but it didn't feel that way. First goal coming in the 10th minute. Mason Visconti got things rolling right away, and then a very, very important goal. It seemed important at the time from Kevin Commodi in the 65th minute, but even that much more important to really end up being the game-winning goal. Hey, Coach going to chat with his team. Let's take a timeout. We're back to Rock Chalk Park after this. Home team wins it tonight 2-1. Kaw Valley FC knocks off St. Louis. Final score 2-1. Taryn Temple standing by on the field with head coach Ishvan Urbani.
Thanks, Kevin. Coach, we talked at halftime about the nerves. Did you feel like they settled in a little bit in that second half and got rid of those nerves?
Yes, and then we made a little changes in the middle of the second half. And I just told the boys that, and I told that, I said that it's coming from my experience, that it's easier to learn from our mistakes if we win. It's a horrible feeling learning from our mistakes when we can't win or we lose. So I think overall the boys did a great job. They controlled the game. We created enough chances to make it easier. But to be fair with the other team, they had a couple of good moments too, and NATO made great saves. But he's part of our team, so.
Halfway into the season at this point, how do you feel about where your team is, and how do you feel about your chances to get into the playoffs?
We are not talking or thinking about the playoffs or thinking about the next game. Just after tomorrow, we'll play against Des Moines, which is probably the strongest side in this conference. And yes, every game brings something to the kids, to the young men to learn from. And I think that's the main reason we have this unbelievable opportunity during the summer to play games and having these experiences.
You mentioned Des Moines, a tough opponent coming up. What challenges do they present?
It's going to be now a great game. Our strongest games probably coming next week when we go to play against Green Bay. But we respect the results, we respect the organization. And last year we were very close to beat them here and over there as well. So hopefully we're going to have some fresh legs and a good mood from the players with great ambition. And we hope more and more supporters will come. So Saturday night it's going to be a good one here at 7:30 if I'm right.
Yeah. Still a lot to look forward to, but last week had your first real hiccup of the season. How do you feel like your team responded tonight?
I think very good, and then that was an important thing. So in this game, it's different than any other sport in this country, because in basketball, in football, if one team is stronger, better than the others, most of the time they can win. Soccer is a completely different animal. It's anybody can win any game almost every time. So that's why it's very important to learn that part of the game, which is game managing. And there was a little bit of that, especially the second half.
All right, thank you as always. Coach, we will see you back here on Saturday. Kevin, back up to you in the booth.
Hey, thanks, Taryn. Big win tonight for Kaw Valley FC. Final score 2-1, back into first place. Let's take a look. Some of the highlights from this one, and man, this one got started awfully quick. Mason Visconti into the starting lineup for Ignacio Larich late, 10th minute, bang, just like that. Great start for the Cranes. The lead lasted for an awfully long time. In fact, still 1-0. Second half, 65th minute. This game not going to the Dogs just yet. Luckily kept alive. Nico Nito, a couple of fantastic saves. At the time, this goal from Kevin Commodi, it seemed important. Boy, in the end game, Andy, it was really important, because in the 89th minute, an inadvertent handball, and Greg McCruden makes it a 2-1 game. Somehow, some way, Cranes hang on to this one.
Yeah, we've seen these teams play enough times this season to know that a second goal was going to be necessary to come out with 3 points tonight, even with for almost an hour. With a 1-goal advantage for Kaw Valley, we knew it wasn't going to be enough. They had given up enough chances to St. Louis. They were going to get one at some point. So to get that second goal was obviously a huge boost to this team. They've just got to in the future, and especially on Saturday coming up against Des Moines, if they find themselves in that similar situation, they've got to limit the chances going back the other direction. And if they get up 2-0, they cannot let a team like Des Moines back into the game, because they more so than anyone else, will make them pay for it.
Kaw Valley back in first place in the Heartland Division with 17 points. But the Des Moines Menace coming to Rock Chalk Park in 2 days. That's a contest you can see live right here on Midcoast Sports Network. That'll do it for us tonight. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Happy night in West Lawrence. Kaw Valley FC knocks off St. Louis. Final score 2-1.